A Man of Awesome Power. By Naguib Mahfouz, Egypt. At a certain time, Tayyib al-Mahdi believed that his mission in this world had come to an end. Deeply relaxed, with only minor aches and pains, he would mutter to himself in contentment, "All praise to God, Lord of the worlds." He had generous health insurance and a more than adequate pension. He lived in an apartment that he owned in Nasser City, which he had won as a reward for many years of service abroad. His 4 daughters had each been married. There was nothing left for him to do but to spend his evenings with his wife, watching television, reading the newspapers, and listening to the radio channel devoted to the Quran. Was it so strange, then, that he thought he had discharged his duties in life in a commendable way? Yet he had no idea what the future had hidden from him. For one night, a man of radiant appearance, bathed in light and wrapped in a snow-white robe, came to him in a dream. In a kind tone, the apparition told him, "From this moment onward, and for as long as God wills, you shall have the power to tell something. Be, and it will be. Do with it what you please." When he woke from his sleep, Tayyib pondered the meaning of his dream. But no sooner had he forgotten it, the way one typically does with dreams, than peculiarly it recurred exactly in its entirety on the following night, and for many nights on end, until he felt there was some secret message hidden within it. Wisely, though, he kept it to himself, telling no one about it, not even his wife Hania. At the same time, he felt infused with physical energy, filled with confidence, inspiration, and joy. And why not? He was a good man. His sins were forgivable ones. Pious and observant, he was a lover of virtue who lived his life despite his modest status, as though he bore on his shoulders the worries of the world and of people everywhere. But from the dream's intense, ceaseless pursuit of him, he decided to try out his supposed new power discreetly. One evening, as he was watching a discussion on the first channel on television, his wife Hania, busy in the kitchen, he mentally demanded that it switches to the second channel instead. Without any warning and without him rising from his seat, Channel 1 disappeared, replaced by a foreign film on Channel 2. Trembling in violent confusion, he was seized by conflicting emotions of fear and elation. He kept commanding the television to change channels and ordering the room's chairs to rise in the air, then returning them to their original places until he was sure of the miracle that had befallen him. He accepted that his significance was beyond his comprehension, yet he saw that his purpose in the world was not yet fulfilled. Indeed, he had not even begun. He recalled his benevolent dreams for his country and the planet, which had flared and faded in just a few seconds. Now was the time that they all would come true. He would reform reality with his own hands, but without any acclaim or credit to his name. Yet he reckoned that he must heed the inner voice that had accompanied him through his long life, which occupied his mind when awake or asleep. So, at the time that he habitually went to the cafe each day he got dressed, his awesome new power enfolded within him, and entrusting himself to God, left the house in his usual way. As he hailed a taxi to take him to the heart of the city, the driver waved him past at him in haughty refusal, speeding on his way without paying him further mind. Even though this was hardly the first time such a thing had occurred, Tayyib's irritation now was greater than in the past. He considered for a moment that he could make the driver suffer an accident on the road. "Whoever is granted a power like mine must use it only for good." He said this to himself. His anger nonetheless got the better of him. He stared at the taxi's rear wheels, and both of them exploded suddenly, like a bomb. The driver pulled over and, drumming his palms together in frustration, glanced back and forth at the 2 shattered tires. "Both at one time," he exclaimed. He studied the dimensions of the conflict carefully. Then the man suddenly slapped the woman's face with shocking impulsiveness. Tayyib was so startled by the incident that he focused all his anger at the offending man's stomach. Stricken by severe cramps, the brute unexpectedly doubled over, moaning and screaming in pain. The bus did not move until he had been carried outside for an ambulance to fetch him. Meanwhile, more than one voice cried out, "He deserves it. That is what he gets for his bad manners and cheekiness." Tayyib al-Mahdi observed all this with satisfaction, certain that he had done his duty in the best manner possible. Continuing on his way to the cafe, he performed memorable services. Spotting a gaping pothole, he filled it. Finding an electrical box hanging dangerously open, he locked it. Tripping on a pile of rubbish, he removed it. Splashed by sewer water flooding an alley, he drained it. All these things together convinced many in the neighborhood that a genuine awakening had struck the nerves of the state or even had gone beyond mere awakening to an outright renaissance. He took his seat at the cafe to refresh his mind with a cup of coffee. He listened to the radio as an announcer was expounding on promising developments expected in the future. Tayyib al-Mahdi was annoyed. Similar prophecies had excited him in the past, though in the end they had produced only frustration. His chest tightening in fury at what the man was saying, he commanded him from afar, "Tell us what has already been accomplished, not what is yet to be achieved." Then he remarked to himself that only sneezing would stop this broadcaster from speaking. Without warning, the man sneezed massively, then remained silent. Perhaps he was drying his nose and mouth with a kerchief. Resuming his chat, he abruptly sneezed again, more emphatically than before. After that, he could not complete a whole sentence. The sneezes kept waylaying him until he was forced to conclude that an unforeseen illness had seized him. Rather than trying to talk anymore, he instead played a recorded song, "Walk Around and See." Tayyib was intoxicated with a rapture of happiness and victory. He would purify both oral and visual broadcasting of what was unworthy of their noble goals. He would terminate any talk that displeased him by making the speaker sneeze spontaneously, or emit trilling cries like those made by women at weddings, or flee at the onset of uncontrollable diarrhea. Without any doubt, he would be the trusty, popular censor of the dangerous media of mass communication. At this time, he noticed a man called Suleiman Bey al-Hamalawi, surrounded by slavish devotees and followers, not far from his own seat in the cafe. Suleiman's stooges crowded around their benefactor in hypocritical sycophancy, inflating him grossly with arrogance and conceit. The tax authorities counted Suleiman one of the fat cats of the reforms among the city's poor. "Wonderful," Tayyib mumbled. "Just wonderful. Suleiman Bey, go straight to the tax prosecutor's office to repent and say you are sorry and pay up the millions of pounds you owe." Immediately, the man got up and went to his car parked outside. Tayyib rubbed his hands with glee. Tomorrow, his victim will be talked about by the newspapers, which will make an example of him to awaken people's consciences. And when Suleiman returns to his villa, he will wonder what had befallen him, beating his head against the wall in despair. He kept applying his stupendous ability the rest of that day and in the days that followed in all sorts of different places, wherever it seemed suitable. He passed by a maternity hospital, a consumer's cooperative, an electrical appliances factory, and so on. A curse and an affliction for some, a mercy for many others. Wherever he went, astonishment and confusion trailed in his wake. Both those he had chastised and those he had blessed would wonder, how could people change without warning from one extreme to another? What is happening to the world? How can so many problems be set right without any steps taken to sort them out? Meanwhile, Tayyib came to see that he could not make the best use of his power without proper planning and awareness of need. He obtained guides to the departments of government, factories, and private companies, and took them to the tea garden at the zoo to draw up a comprehensive program for his intervention. The layers of official bureaucracy, the centers of production and services, the People's Assembly, the prisons and what was said about them, the commercial markets, the press, the political parties, the schools and universities. Each phase must be mapped out slowly and deliberately. Every clamor must be quieted, every deviation must be deterred, and once he is done correcting his country, he will turn with zeal to deal with the world. The mission that shall emerge from it will be manifold and heavy. Yet the power that he possessed was the wonder of the age. Something caught his eye at the tea garden's entrance. He saw a beautiful woman approaching to take a seat at the table right next to him. Gorgeous and enticing, she was a perfect replication of his lost, youthful dreams. Swept by a surge of delight, Tayyib found his passions aroused in a way that he had not known since he first married Hania, destroying the indifference he had dreaded since he entered old age. The surprise attraction amazed him truly. It was far from ordinary and hardly appropriate for one preoccupied with such a mountainous burden as his. She barely noticed him as her large, round eyes wandered over the green lake and the ducks floating lazily on it. Does she have any idea that, in a split second, he could set her head over heels at will? He hesitated a moment before sending her a hidden message. Instantly, she threw him an answering look and seemed as though she were about to speak. His desire now ecstasy, he gave way to it in spite of himself. Would it do any harm to one who wished to repair the world if he also sought to heal himself? And, in one shared smile, he utterly forgot both his faith and his life. He closed his notebook as they stood up together, surrendering to their fate. Returning to his house one evening, Tayyib came back to his senses. He realized that he had erred. When Hania remarked he was not in his normal mood, he claimed to her it was only a cold. And though he never thought to repeat his mistake, the pain it caused him would not go away. Worst of all, he was no longer favored with the depthless inner confidence on which he had been drunk for so long. He longed to practice his secret power once again. Waiting until Hania had gone out on an errand, he turned towards the television as he had done so often before. The channel would not change. He thought he was going mad. No matter how much he tried, all he met was failure. The miracle was gone like a dream. Pleading is pointless. Distress is useless. Regret has no effect. An awesome sadness will haunt Tayyib al-Mahdi until the day of his death.